So we've been doing the schooling from home for about a week. Kids have been back in school for about a week. We're doing the homeschooling route, and it turns out that I'm kind of well suited for it. It's working out pretty well. I enjoy it, and I super enjoy being able to bring the soap and clay kidlets into another aspect of the business. And so they are going to be editing today's video. So at the end, tell them whether or not they did a good job. And I will tell you what this video is about in just a moment. But before I do that, hello, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And today's day 161 of 365 days of soap, and we are doing another wood grain soap. And this one I'm actually really excited for. So you remember back in like July when we did the stars and stripes thing with like the star embed, and we cut it using like a different cut. And I commented that this would be actually a really cool technique to use for like a perfect knot in a wood grain soap. And so that's what we're doing today. We are using, proper wood grain colors and doing the damn thing that way. We're not using a star. Obviously, we're going to use a circle for the embed. And I'm super excited for this one. This one is scented with a cranberry oak. So it's very, very bright and sweet, very tart with the cranberry. And then you have the cool oak finish to it. It's a delightful blend. And the pour, it's a cool one. So it's definitely a different way to do a wood grain, but there are lots of ways to do wood grains, and I'm going to show you, essentially 4 over this week. I've showed you one yesterday. Now I'm going to show you one today. So let's stop talking about the one that I'm going to show you and just go show you. So I'm starting off just letting you know right off the bat, this was such a fun bar of soap to make. So we have the kaolin clay dispersed in water here, because water is actually not going to cause any glycerin rivers in the sky. I took some of the water content out of the lye solution to do this. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get too much graininess from the clay. So that's what I did. We've got a little bit of red, a little bit of black, a little bit of gray, and the scent blend is a cranberry oak, which is delightful. It is so good. And these little guys here will be the embeds that will go into the mold after we've poured some of the soap batter in. So we're doing another wood grain, right? Because wood grains are awesome. But the embeds, if you remember back in July, we did a like a stars and stripes type soap thing with a star embed. And I was talking about it in the video after the cut, and I realized this could actually be a really cool way to ensure you get a knot in every single soap in a wood grain pour. Now, there are cool ways to do that within a pour to sort of get knots in your just by pouring, right? But this is a more absolutely in your face. This is a knot. This is a wood grain. And I wanted to play with that. After I saw the star, I thought, well, we could totally do a circular, embed and get a cool knot. And yeah, you could actually go from there. You're not gonna do the thing. You're probably fine. You mix a little bit more. Cool, like it. Now, this oil blend actually gets to trace really quickly, or emulsification rather. So you hit emulsion really very quickly with this, and the reason for that is actually kind of an unknown for me, because I am using a swirls blend here. This is my very slow to thicken up, so it really extends trace blend here. So we have about 60% liquid oils in this and 40% solid, and 40% solid are coconut, babassu, and shea. The 60% liquid are olive, castor, avocado, and hemp. And it's just a delightfully slow moving batter, but for whatever reason this actually got to trace really fast today, and that's not normally the case. Usually I have to work for it, but also with my swirls blend I tend to put aloe in whenever I'm using my swirls master batch, and aloe tends to slow down getting to emulsification for me quite a bit. So I don't know why. I mean, the not including aloe in this, I guess, would, anyway, doesn't really matter. So 3 different accent colors. It's very similar to the pour that we did yesterday with the thin lines. And the whole idea is you want a very thin fluid batter throughout the entire pour, and you want to lay down just a little bit of color into the mold or into the bucket, the Pyrex, and then pour it kind of with purpose into the mold. You saw yesterday's cut how I kind of moved as I'm moving my container from left to right. At one point I reversed the angle, the direction too quickly, and we ended up with more of a rounded line instead of a just straight. This was just milled or planed or whatever, but it ended up looking really cool anyway, so it doesn't super matter. But if you're really going for those perfect wood grains, yes, very thin batter just placed on the top of the soap batter that you have in your container, just a little bit at a time. So don't pour high. Pour the beakers very close to the soap batter that's in the container. You could even use squeeze bottles to really control that flow so it's not breaking that plane too terribly much. But I mean, that all makes sense in the pour itself, and we're not at the pour, we're at the mixy mix stage. So we're doing the mixy mix stage. We have the kaolin and everything, we have the scent blend and everything. Everything is still nice and fluid and very beautiful. This is going to be a delight to soap with for me because I like very thin batter. And yeah, let's go check out the pour. Now I have the soap on an angle, or the mold on an angle, and I did not do this yesterday for the slab mold, but I mean, it's a slab mold, so it was done differently anyway. And leaves on the bottom, it was all thing. I have found that a good wood grain pour is going to be best on an angle, and I've tried it just flat bottom, but you have less control over how you get the batter into the mold that way, really. And doing it this way and just pouring it against the wall, so a nice wall pour, is going to sort of, I don't know, allow the batter to flow out more easily from the container without marring the lines, the stripes that you've already created, underneath. And so yeah, it's just a very slow and with purpose, pour into the mold. And if I were doing a soap that I wasn't putting a thin lines in, or I'm sorry, an embed in for this, and I wanted a wood grain, I would be, as I was going back and forth and making my passes with my big Pyrex, every once in a while I would just sort of stop and give the soap a little wiggle just from left to right really quickly, and then continue on the original path, and then back. I guess that's kind of hard to explain if I'm not actually showing you. So if I end up doing it, that was my point with all of it, it's just sort of habit that in a thin lines, a wood grain pour, I usually do precisely that. So if I catch it while we're watching this and I do a little wiggle, I will call it out, so you know what to look for if I do it again. But so far I'm not doing it, and the reason I'm not doing it, I think, is because I am aware that I'm putting in an embed to make the little knot, the wood knot, instead of making it so with the pour itself, if that makes sense. We have 4 wood grains going this week, so you're bound to see it at some point, so I'll call it out at that point. Now I just want a little bit more soap batter into the base of this container, in the base of the mold, before I put in the embeds because I don't want the embeds to be too far down. I'd like to have them reasonably centered from top to bottom in the bars. And so this looks pretty good. Gonna go ahead and set it down on its base so we can put in the embeds, and they're just gonna go from side to side as opposed to lengthwise in the mold. That's why they're cut the way that they are, much like the fireworks, the Stars and Stripes soap that we did in July, because this is cut differently, and that's true of most all thin lines. In order to really release the beautiful pattern, you want to cut it in a different way than you would a normal bar of soap, a normal block of soap, right? So usually you have your loaf right there, and you put it on your cutter and you cut it in 1-inch chunks down the length of the mold, really. And for a thin lines pour, you actually kind of chunk it out and then cut it a different way. You cut it from side to side. And then also, there are lots of different ways to cut soap to reveal patterns. And I think we've talked about that in multiple videos before. So, don't be afraid to cut your soap in a way that, you normally wouldn't, because you never know what kind of cool patterns will be released. But this is actually almost completely full. So we are going to top this off, and I'm not going to screw the top or do anything with it. I'm going to leave the top as natural as possible, and we will put this in the oven. I'm not concerned about the embeds inside because they are not melt and pour. They are cold process with the circles in there. So we're going to put this into the oven. It is going to go through CPOP. We are going to gel this, and we will cut this beauty, tomorrow. But you get to see it in like 13 seconds because the magic of the editing and the things. And yeah, we are ready to put that in the oven and go on to the cut and see if I got some cool knots in my wood grain. Okay, it is cut day. We have forced this through gel. It's nice and shiny. It's been sitting for about 12 hours in the oven, and it is ready to cut. We've got some really cool lines that I can already see on the side, so that's very exciting. And again, as I said, this is a different cut. So I get out my trusty tape measure for this little guy and just chunk it out into 3 sections that I am then going to cut from sort of side to side instead of, down the length of the mold, top down, down the length. This one's not getting cut that way. It will get cut top down into 3 chunks, and then from side to side with, a secondary cut, because that's what you get if you just were to cut that top down. And it's a perfectly lovely soap, but it doesn't exactly look like a wood grain, does it? It's cool looking, but oh, look at that. I'm so excited to cut that. So yep, we're going to cut from side to side, cut each of those little pieces into 3 more pieces. And again, these are test batches to see if I like it, and if I do, then I do giant batches. But this is easier to show you guys than like the big giant batches for the filming purposes, so it works out well. And also you get to see the trial and error and all the things that go along with it. So I've measured out like 1+ inches actually. These are kind of thick bars based on the mold that I used for the test, and then just cut it again, so side to side instead of from length. And I'm very excited to reveal the pattern inside of this. I'm kind of teasing you by not showing you a bar right away, but I'm also teasing myself because I want to see the inside of the soap, like a lot. I really want to see this. So, now we get to. So we'll pull a bar and see what we've got going on inside. And, that is so pretty. Oh my gosh. That is just delightful. Oh yeah, that is so beautiful. Now I put the pink in because, we're doing a cranberry oak blend, and so it has a little bit of sweet to it, but some tart as well because the cranberry. And then, oak, it's woodsy, it's wood grain, it all makes sense. But I want to put some pink in it to sort of tie in the other, extra scent piece to it. And I love it. I'm so glad that I did. These are so beautiful. I think the knot might be a little big, and so I will go with a smaller diameter circle for the embed for the rest of the batches. But maybe, I don't know. I mean, look at that. That's gorgeous. Too big or not, that's super beautiful. And there's a fun way to always get a nice knot into your wood grain soaps. That is beautiful. That soap is beautiful, like so unbelievably gorgeous. I look at that and it just makes me smile. I love this soap so very much. The knot arguably could be smaller. It really could be, but also it still looks so cool. I love this. It was good. And so yeah, if you're looking to get a knot in every single bar of soap, this is a cool way to do it because you don't have to do the little wiggly thing to make the knots with it. I'm going to show you how to do that one too, but you know, not today. You get this one today, and this one was absolutely stunning. And you know, the scent blend after spawnification, it's bright, it's beautiful, it's tree-y, it's so good. And I love it. And if you love it and you would like to pick up a bar of your own, you can find it at soapandclay.com. If you are interested in following me on social media, yeah, I'm there. Do the things, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And for more, you know, soapy fun, you should subscribe to the channel. You can click the word, and that would be cool because I like new subscribers, and that would be awesome. You know, every little bit helps with the channel and all of the things and the unknowns with COVID. So growing the channel, I find my fulfillment there. So if you would like to subscribe and join the Sudzer family, I would appreciate it. For those of you who are part of the Sudzer family, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I hope you guys had fun today in the making of the cranberry oak. And it's a delightful bar, right? It's so pretty. I did it. And yeah, that really does it for me today. I will see you guys again tomorrow. We'll be doing number 3 in the wood grain series, and it's a beautiful one too, so you definitely want to come back and check that one out. But for now, I am out of here, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.